Hey peeps, how are you? Everything good? Saturday morning, July 29th. The United States is currently on fire, from what I understand. The weather actually is pretty mild here in the Northwest. It's been like 80 degrees all week, so it's been manageable. But from what I hear across the United States, it is a sauna. I mean, people are on fire right now. Everything is hotter than hell. I was I was hanging out with some friends last night. We were watching the Mariners game, and they're playing the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're in the middle of a Diamondbacks series, and they're playing in Arizona. And apparently, it has been 110 degrees plus for a couple of weeks, and they envision it's going to be the same for the next 2 weeks. I mean, basically, it's over 100 degrees, 110 degrees for a month straight in Arizona. I I can't even imagine this. This is nuts to me. That is one of the things that's a plus about living in the Northwest. The weather is generally pretty mild here. We see the four seasons and plus, hey, don't move here. When you hear what I'm saying and you're like, "Hey, that sounds good." Don't move here, all right? It's turning for the worse. For the past 30 plus years, everybody else has been flocking to the Northwest, and everything that was once charming about the Northwest is now going out the window. And it gets hot here. It's been getting hotter here too. It's just getting hotter everywhere. That's what's happening to the United States and the whole world. There's a heat wave in Europe right now too. So I hope you're surviving out there. It's brutal. And yeah, stay away from the Portland area, will you? Portland has already been ruined by people flocking here. Please move somewhere else. It's all of the charm of the Portland area has now been bled out of it. This used to be a very charming, cool, quirky area. I don't live in Portland proper anymore. I live on the outskirts, but everything that used to be cool about this area is just long gone. I don't even recognize this city anymore. But that's a different topic, different video. Excuse me. I know a few of you live in the Portland area or you live in Portland that watch my channel. So thank you. I don't know how long you've been in Portland. I was born in Portland. I'm born and raised in this area. That's another thing. You don't see anybody when you're in the Portland area, you don't meet anybody who is actually born here. I mean, every single person you see in Portland, they're just like deer in the headlights. You can tell they don't know where they are. They have no clue what they're doing. They don't know anybody. It's become a really sad little tourist town. Anyway, that's another video. Sorry. I have a love-hate relationship with Portland. It used to be really cool, and it's just had all the coolness bled right out of it. It's a city I don't recognize anymore. It's too bad. But forget all that. Today, I'm here to talk about this. And let me take it out of its sleeve. That glare can be nasty. Front 242. Let me fix this. Let me fix that mic a little bit so you don't have to be distracted by that green light. I don't know if you were or not, but this is front by front, obviously. Nah, you're going to see it. Sorry. This is front by front. And unless I'm completely out of touch with the community at large that likes this kind of music and likes Front 242, this is generally accepted as their best album and their most popular album. And for very good reason. This is an excellent album. I think this album and the album that came after this are their two best. In fact, the record that came after this, I would argue it's on par with this in a different way. But this was the end of phase two for Front 242, in my opinion, front by front. I think the second phase started with Official Version, the album that came before this, and then this came out after in 1989. I think, right? 89, 88, 89. I, enough years pass and you have to, you remembered these things at the time, and then 30 plus years later, you're like, wait, did that come out in 89? Things start to blur together the older you get, trust me. It just happens. You don't think it's going to happen to you. You youngins out there, you guys in your 20s, you think, this will never happen to me. And I know that because I thought the same way. Then you get into your 40s and you're like, what? Where am I? What time is it? What city am I in? It happens, dude. Wait for it. It's coming. Anyway, front by front. This is an essential Front 242 record, and just kind of an essential album in the whole quote unquote industrial scene. This is generally considered just to be one of the best albums in that whole genre class. It's, and for good reason. Kind of it stands on its own. Stands upon its own hill. It does miss that classic 242 logo that we know. But this is cool. It's a nice little change. They kind of changed it up for this album in terms of the logo. I've talked about the logo in my other Front 242 videos. But what I talked about with official version, their sound got a lot bigger, a lot more expansive. Bits and pieces of it though, not the whole album. And I talk about that in the official version video. You can check that out if you want. But they took that bigger sound for this album and they just focused it for a whole album rather than just doing it in dribs and drabs, bits and pieces on the official version. They focused on doing that for the entire album of this, and it works. From start to finish, this is just an excellent experience. Flows very well. The messages are very prescient and direct. The music is impeccably produced. And yeah, it's got that big sound. I talked about how the official version was the first time they had that anthemic kind of dance music feel to it. Well, this definitely does. And a couple of the songs are just so over the top and good that even to this day, they're considered to be some of the classics of this type of music. I'll pull out the inner sleeve. Like I did the last few releases. I'm going to show the records that came out around this time, and there are 3. I'm going to focus on 3. This album basically had 2 singles that came from it. Nice imagery, really nice. I mean, there's always plenty to take in with the imagery that they present to you. I always had a good time breaking into these records and having it in my hand and checking out their imagery. Lots to take in. And as always, every one of these releases I'm going to show are all on Wax Trax. I'm in the United States, and that's what you found. You found Wax Trax releases when it came to Front 242. Yeah, good presentation, as always. I think Front 242 were always very interested in giving you a direct visual impression. It wasn't all just about music and generic sleeves. These guys wanted to paint a picture in your mind before you even touch the music. That's the album. I will grab this. This is the Headhunter 12-inch. This is the song that everyone knows them for. Pure and simple. There's no argument to this, guys. Those of you who want to leave annoying comments, and there are a few of you that definitely do this on a regular basis, thanks a lot for that. There's no argument. This is their biggest song. I don't care what you say. And this is one of the biggest songs in that world. In the world of Front 242 and Nights Are Ebb and any of the music that I talk about on this channel, this is one of the biggest tracks. And it makes 100% sense. Everything about Headhunter is huge, massive. This is the biggest statement they ever made. From the cover, which is fascinating to me, to the music, to the video. The video is directed by Anton Corbijn. That definitely helped. He created this weird video with, there's a chick wandering around with a broken egg on her head, and it's shot in very lush black and white. He did that a lot. Most of Depeche Mode's videos were like that too at that time, and Corbijn did those. Just, the guy's got an amazing eye. So Front 242 really thought this through very well when they released Headhunter. It was a classic the moment it came out. This isn't one of those songs that, took a while to catch on. Now, this song was immediately a hit. And this preceded the album. This came out before Front by Front. This was the promotional tool for the album. And this 12-inch version is a little different than the album version. Not much. I'll get into the tracks in a minute. And the excellent B-side on here, which is arguably every bit as good as the A-side, Headhunter. And then here's Never Stop. This came out after Front by Front. I think this came out in 1990, right? Oh, no, it was 89. Okay. Maybe toward the end of 89. Awesome cover. Again, I love this. I mean, it's simple. It's somebody swimming, but the way they blur it and the way they pixelate it, and then the font next to it, it's very very threatening, kind of spooky. Awesome imagery. Always awesome imagery with this group. The whole package. That's why I think it's important. Oh, here's one of the Wax Trax catalogs. This is why I think it's important to, or at least for me, one of the reasons why it's fun, not important, but fun to buy records. You get this, it's art. You have it in your hands. There's a lot to experience if you can listen to the music and be presented with this really striking imagery. And, that's all part of why collecting records is fun for me. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to buy records to enjoy music. I'm not trying to come off like you can only listen to this stuff on vinyl, but it's fun. It's my fun. It doesn't have to be your fun. This whole experience is fun for me. Look at that cover. Awesome stuff. So, yeah, these are the two singles that stemmed from this. So let's go back to this, because this is the main release. You get a collection of 9 cuts. I know this has been re-released. You guys probably have it on CD. You probably are streaming it. I know there are more songs. Okay? The songs you get on the digital versions are from these 12 inches here. So if you bought the records, your track listing is going to be different. But this is the original album track listing. Never Stop wasn't on it. Welcome to Paradise was not on the album. Those were only on the 12 inches. I know they're on your reissues. Those are reissues. This is the original album. 9 tracks. And not a bad cut on here, by the way. This is just really intense, aggressive dance music with a vision and a message. That's how I would describe it. There are those of you who would say, it's EBM, it's industrial. Okay, whatever. You're trivializing it when you do that. This is very heady dance music. Lots of messages. Their lyrics are in your face, very direct. The rhythms are nailed down with spikes. I think that's important when you're making electronic music. It needs to be tight. Every little idea needs to be very well delivered and tight, and that's what this record is from start to finish. Some of my favorite tracks, Im Rhythmus Bleiben, I love that song. It's just very catchy. It gets stuck in your head. Every once in a while, I'll be working or at the store or somewhere, and I'll hear in my head, Im Rhythmus Bleiben, Im Rhythmus Bleiben. It's just very catchy. Then I have to listen to it. First in, first out. This cut, very cool. There's Headhunter. You'll see it's version 3.0. The version on the 12 inch is version 1.0, I think. I'll get to that. And if I'm not remembering that correctly, I'll remember very soon enough when I get to it. Work. There's a different version of that on the Never Stop 12-inch that I just showed. Yeah, this is carrying over what they did really well with official version and making it better, making it more expansive, more intense, more emotional. They were arguably at their peak right here, but they were at their peak for a few years. Like I mentioned before, the album that comes after this, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to make another video right after this one, actually, because they're both fresh in my mind. I've been listening to these lately. And the album that comes after this is really cool, too, in a different way. I think it's every bit as good as this one for different reasons. Excellent stuff. You get a couple of more down-tempo, sinister grooves, but there's a lot of like upbeat club music on this. Never more so than with Headhunter for these guys. I mean, yeah, Headhunter was the cut. That was the song that put them over the top. Excellent stuff. Excellent imagery. You've heard this album, and if you haven't, you should experience it. If you watch my video for any other band and you don't know Front 242, this is a really excellent starting point. You could start at any point with these guys, I think. But I think this is generally regarded as their best album, and it makes sense. It's just, they were completely focused. Everything this band is about, from the imagery to the message to the music, it all comes together flawlessly here. It's not a super long album, it's like 40 minutes, 9 tracks. Songs aren't very long. It kind of comes and goes pretty quickly, but those albums can work really well. They leave you wanting more, and this one does. Now, if you're going to have, let me grab these. If you're going to have the album, you need these 12 inches along with it, especially this one. This is just what they're known for. And I talked about Headhunter, the video, already went into that. The B-side is excellent, Welcome to Paradise. Just filled with samples. You could tell it was Front 242 lambasting preacher culture. This was a thing back in the 80s, especially in the United States. Religious fanaticism. I mean, it's still here. It's always going to be here. But yeah, definitely an anti-religious statement. And in my opinion, there can never be enough of those. In my humble opinion, religion is the reason that so much suffering has happened on this planet Earth since the beginning of time. It all goes back to religion. And Front 242 never hid their thoughts on this. They lambast religion quite often, and never better than Welcome to Paradise. Welcome to Paradise opened, I think that was on the reissues, I'm pretty sure, but it was a B-side. It's the Headhunter B-side. So the fact that Welcome to Paradise is the B-side to Headhunter makes this one of the most essential dance singles in history. I just think you've got to have this. And I'm sure most of you do. And it's cool, I think, that it's part of all of those re-releases. Why not put them all on there? If you have the CD release or if you stream these, good on you. That's cool. I think that's awesome. Why not have all these tracks in one place? This is an interesting single. They were trying to push the Never Stop single, so that this version, arguably the most dancey version, is all on its own on the B-side at 45 RPM. Then you get all these songs on the A-side at 33 RPM. I always thought that was interesting. Obviously, Front 242 wanted you to play this. They wanted DJs to be playing this. When it's pressed at 45, it's louder. If you're playing it on a big system, the system is going to be able to, present the bass in a much louder way. So if any of you have ever wondered why this track listing is so strange, it's, they wanted DJs to be playing this cut in the clubs. These songs were, these songs are just as danceable, I think. In fact, as a DJ, I played a couple of cuts on the A side more than I played this. Particularly these versions of Work. I love these remixes of Work. They're really good. Better than the other version, I think. And Never Stop is one of their best songs too. Total club track. Four to the floor, just almost a straight up techno track, but with vocals and stuff. In 1989 style, before this was when the rave scene was first starting to take its hold on the world. And I'll talk about that with their next album. The album that comes after that, Front 242, did a nice job with incorporating that newer sound of the time with rave and incorporating it into their own sound. But that's another video. Never Stop. Headhunter. And Front by Front. Many Front 242 fans will say that this is their best album, and I wouldn't argue with that. When you look at their catalog, I think if you are to consider the records they made that are the most expansive, that are the most fluid, that have the most direct impact and the most direct and blatant messaging and the best production, look no further than this. It just is what it is. Sometimes everybody gets it right. There are many bands where the fans have all kinds of different favorite albums. I think it's totally legitimate that the vast majority of Front 242 fans find Front by Front to be their best album. It just makes sense. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Bye.